AI has turned many industries upside down in a very short period of time, disrupting and revolutionizing the way that businesses operate. It's also opened up a world of possibilities in marketing, giving marketers a treasure trove of tools to work smarter, faster, and more effectively. But with this luxury of options comes a challenge. How do you decide which tools to use? And as importantly, how do you extract value from them? With so many AI powered tools, it can sometimes feel overwhelming. Welcome to Marketing Spark, the podcast where we dive into the strategies, tools, and insights that help marketers and entrepreneurs thrive in today's fast paced world. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Linda Melone, a seasoned marketer who has embraced AI to jumpstart and streamline her daily workflows. Linda, welcome to Marketing Spark.
Thank you so much, Mark. I'm really looking forward to this.
Like a lot of people, we connected a few years ago on LinkedIn during COVID. It was a way for us to stay sane and stay connected. Since that time, when we first met, your entrepreneurial journey has evolved and changed. I'd like to delve into the personal and talk about what has the last few years been for you as a marketer, and has the focus of your business shifted as a result?
It's been such a gradual change I'm thinking primarily of ChatGPT when we talk about AI. There's a lot of other platforms and software and AI tools that I do use, but it snuck into what I was doing without me even realizing it. I don't even remember the first time I used chat, but that was how I got started. It changed over time as I learned more about it, worked with it, took classes with people, got guidance from copywriting coaches, and just learned how to incorporate it in different ways that it evolved.
So your business has changed over the last couple of years. You were focused on a particular sector, and now you're focused on the health and fitness area, which is
Yeah.
a long time love of yours. Why did that happen? Did technology have anything to do with it?
What happened is I was a content writer, magazine writer for many years, like 15 years, 15, 20 years. I got out of that when the print publications collapsed and it became all digital. I wasn't able to make the money I was making. I was literally making 25% of what I
Hmm.
was making for print. As you mentioned, I've been a personal trainer for about the same time, and that's the two were working together for a while till I just ditched all the personal training. But I started an online course for women over 50, fitness course. I was marketing. I didn't know the first thing about copywriting or marketing. I just did it by the seat of my pants. There's a lot that I would have done differently now. That was one of the reasons why I feel like I couldn't really get it off the ground like I wanted to. So I decided to go back to writing and went into copywriting. And I thought, okay, I can do copywriting for health and fitness. I started taking some high level copywriting courses with some good coaches and was told SaaS is really the way to go. And even if you don't know a lot about SaaS, that's where they have the biggest marketing budgets. I said, let me just do that. But I noticed that the companies that were coming to me somehow knew, I don't know if they just did their research, but they were tended to be health and fitness companies were asking me to do their copywriting. I still wasn't really clear on it because I thought, I just didn't think there was money in it. I didn't think there was a marketing budget in a lot of these companies. So I resisted it for the longest time. And literally just this past year, I realized that was my differentiator. I was a personal trainer for a long time, and I was on expert panels for fitness. And I just knew it so well. I thought, why not just take my knowledge and use it to my advantage instead of seeing it as something like I was bored with it. After you do something for so long, I was just writing. If I have to describe one more time how to do a bicep curl, I'm going to scream. It just was like that sort of thing. So I resisted it. And then I realized, okay, if I go in at the B2B angle, helping the SaaS company that sells software to gym owners, I could do that and still incorporate my fitness background because of what I know about their customers. So that's how it evolved to where it is right now.
I love the idea of combining passion and experience and expertise with serving customers who need somebody with domain expertise and understands their business. I think a lot of B2B marketers have gone through the same journey because the market is super competitive right now. The marketing landscape goes up and down depending on the economy and amount of venture capital. It's been an interesting year for a lot of marketing consultants who've had to make some changes. Some of them have been forced upon them. Some of them have been about seizing opportunities, like it sounds like you've done. 2024 seems like a new, fresh year for many marketers. But let's get back to AI, something that obviously dominates the landscape and something that you and I think about a lot. You mentioned off the top that AI snuck up on you. And I think one of the things that I think about is AI has been around for a long time. In fact, some of the tools that we use for a long time have incorporated AI. They just didn't talk about them. It wasn't sexy. It was just the way that software operated. But everything changed 2 years ago when ChatGPT was launched and AI was thrown into the mainstream. When you look back at that period of time, and I think it affected us writers in particular because ChatGPT was instantly a tool to do writing. Were you surprised by how quickly ChatGPT has exploded and by the way the whole AI landscape has taken off as well? Or did you, when you saw ChatGPT, did you say this is just the beginning of something amazingly fantastic or amazingly terrifying if the way you look at it?
At first, I was amazed at how fast. I can't believe it's been 2 years. I feel like I can't remember when I didn't use AI now because it's so infiltrated into different aspects of my business. But yeah, it took off faster than anyone really expected. It just seemed like that it wasn't there, and then all of a sudden it's everything. As a copywriter, it's challenging and frustrating. I see it as companies are using it to do their writing, but I think it's the companies that really don't understand how AI falls flat. I have a client who's asked me to do some blogs. I don't usually do blogging. It's usually part of a package, but I'm going to do it for this one client. This has happened with more than one client. What I do is I cut and paste what they currently have and I pop it into an AI. The one I was using is Quillbot. It's a AI content detector. And it said 100% of this is 100%. Then what's interesting is the same app. I was just doing this before I got on here because I was playing around with it. And it said, okay, if you want it to be refined to sound more like a person, put it in here. They have a paraphrasing part of it. So I did that. And it says it's 100% AI refined. So you can't get away from it. And it's just frustrating because a lot of people think that's good enough. And yeah, it falls
And
short.
and I think there's the conundrum between in the content world between good enough and really good.
Mhm.
A lot of companies, a lot of entrepreneurs have defaulted to good enough. I have a client and we talk about writing blog posts and website content. And he just says, just have ChatGPT do it. And as a longtime writer, it pains me. It just causes me so much anxiety. And I just have to say, no, we have to do better than that. We just cannot be so obvious that we're using AI.
Yeah.
When you look at your portfolio, I'm really curious about this because I think a lot of marketers are in the same boat. What does your AI toolbox look like right now in terms of running your own business and the tools that you use for clients? Like we've all got our go-to tools. And then maybe after you talk about your toolbox, I can open my toolbox up and show you what I'm using these days.
Mainly it's chat. I have the $20 a month upgraded version.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I use most of the time. I have tried other ones. There was one, I think it was called Blaze, and it said their website was really cool. It's all like cartoon, like graphics and stuff. And it said, we can copy your voice. Because the biggest argument against using AI or actually just hiring a copywriter in general is, oh, I don't know, I'm afraid they're not going to get my voice right. So that's a huge concern. I was trying it to see, okay, can they really get my voice? You put in your own information and have it do its thing. It was so far off base. And I'm thinking, this is not anything I would write. And if I sound this nasty, because it really had me like, I'm a pretty direct person. I don't know where they pulled this from, but it was not me. But I try out things like that. But right now it's mainly chat. Um, I use something for LinkedIn that I recently found called Redact AI. Have you heard of this one?
I haven't.
I just used it this morning for my post on LinkedIn. You can take your previous post. So I took a post that was really popular about 2 years ago that I did, and it will reframe it. So it's all your information. It can also do it from just telling it what you want to write, but I don't trust it for that. But I will take a post that was really popular, ask it to reframe it, rewrite parts of it, and then I go in and change it around a little bit. But that's what I posted this morning. It just saves a ton of time. But that's pretty much LinkedIn specific. Other than that, it's really just I use chat for outlining things, for distilling down what's the most important part of this conversation I had with someone. Those are the things I find it most valuable for. Or is there something I used it today for interview? I just checked in to see is there anything, and these questions that you're asking me are my own personal opinion. So this really wasn't much. But some of the AI tools I was looking at, and it's I really am not using a whole lot of them, but I find that within chat, there's other ones in there too. There's different chats that you can, I don't know if you've seen it, like you can get DALI, the image
Yeah. Yeah, there's
creator.
it's
So
just
there's,
my toolbox. I use ChatGPT. I have the $20 plan. It's probably the best money that I spend on marketing. The ROI is amazing. And I think one of the things about ChatGPT, and you epitomize this, is it's so powerful. It does so much
yeah.
that it overshadows other applications, because why would you pay for something else when ChatGPT can do it? But I would say in my toolbox, some of the things that I use, Descript.com is an
Hmm.
amazing editing tool for video and audio. So the way that it works is you upload your file, and then you can edit it using the text rather than editing clips. So for someone like me, it makes podcast production, making videos so much easier and so much faster. And you can add interstitials and preload and captions. It's just so amazing. It's a $20-$30 a month tool. WordTune is another tool, and you can take a sentence or a paragraph and have it give you 3 or 4 or 5 different suggestions on how to rewrite it. Grammarly's been around for a long time. I think a lot of people use the free or the paid version. And the one thing about Grammarly, it's always been AI. That's how the engine has improved through the use of AI. And now it's interesting to them to see that they're waving the AI flag these days. And the tool that I really want to use, and I haven't got into it yet, is something called HeyGen, HeyGen.com.
I've
What
heard of.
it does is you record yourself for 2 minutes. You can talk about anything.
Oh, I've heard about that.
It captures your facial expressions. After it does that, then the algorithm builds a avatar or a profile of you, and then you can feed copy into HeyGen to create videos that eerily look like you. It is you, but it's all computer generated. I can write a post, or I can record an audio video, and it turns into a video, which would be unbelievable. I'm probably just scraping the surface here in terms of
Yeah.
some of the tools that you use. And I'm sure there's tools I use that are AI powered. I don't even know it.
I was going to say that just a copywriter, a copywriting coach just posted about that yesterday. I did not yet watch his video, but he posted in a Facebook group that I belong to. He said that he used this, and he said he was both mesmerized and terrified by it. And he goes, "You have to listen to what this thing came up with." And people are like, "Holy cow." So I have
Yeah.
to go back and listen to it, but it must be, yeah. I use Opus. I didn't mention that. So I forgot about the podcast,
Right.
Opus Clips.
Yeah.
And I use something called Pod Squeeze.
I think Podskis is using ChatGPT and it's a podcast summary tool, right? Or a podcast.
Right.
It does all kinds of things for podcasts. Are you on the lookout for new AI tools that will help you do your work faster, easier, or better? What are some of the ways that you discover and evaluate new tools? Because we're all trying to build our toolbox. We're all trying to make things a lot better. So, do you have a methodology, or is it just ad hoc, or do you get newsletters? What's your AI discovery process?
What's interesting is I get a lot of ideas from LinkedIn. There's people who are always posting about a tool like this one that this is Facebook, but the copywriting coach. I'm today when I get some time, I'm going to look at exactly what he was using. I'm not sure if it was the one that you're talking about, but I usually hear about it from other people. Redact AI is what I heard about that from somebody on LinkedIn who always talks about AI. I've tried a lot of the other recommendations that he's put out, but his niche, but I didn't like a lot of them. I just didn't resonate with me. But this one did, and it was surprisingly good. But I just try different things like Blaze, tried it for a month. I tried their free program, didn't like it, just couldn't get it to work, and I just ditched it. I have a list in front of me I keep on my computer monitor. I just try things and see how they work, see what other people are talking about. I don't get a specific AI newsletter, but I do It's all over. People are always talking about different things.
Unfortunately, I get many AI newsletters
Oh, do
with,
you?
and they just seduce me. I'm just sucker for new tools. I see things, I screen capture them, and I've got my computer's probably overflowing with software and log. It's just terrible. One other thing I will say about all these AI jockeys on LinkedIn, they're so aggressive in terms of trying to position themselves as these gurus who spend all their time testing out these different tools. They're so deep in the weeds in terms, and they have to be because they're trying to generate all this new content all the time, that a lot of their tools are like, really, it's like going to like the world's biggest buffet, and it keeps on getting bigger and bigger. After a while you're overwhelmed, they just want to go back to a diner that has 5 choices. So that's kind of the
Right.
world we live in. You look at you use ChatGPT, and I probably use 4 or 5 different tools, and that's about it.
The one thing I wanted to add though about the Chat GPT is how you can personalize your chat. Like the one that I created, you can create your own. And the
Right.
one I created, it's only with the $20 a month program though. I created one that merges my voice, my information, and my copywriting coaches that I've worked with. So everything I get, I know is from that. Well, because it usually, actually, the voice does sound like it's one of my coaches that I used to work with. So I know that. And if it's something that's very specific to copywriting or research, I will go into that one before I do just the general chat.
I'm going to give you a ChatGPT hack. I hope that none of my clients are listening, but here's what I do for every single client now is I will create a custom GPT. I will load in all their sales and marketing collateral, their sales decks, their investor decks, brochures, anything I can get my hands on, and I'll create a custom GPT. When I'm doing work for a client, putting together content frameworks or maybe the grunt copy that someone has to put through, I'll run it through a custom GPT. I'm trying
A great
to enhance or augment the engine so that it takes into account very specific content about a very specific client. That's one of the ways that I'm trying to leverage ChatGPT in a very different way. I'm not sure I get better results than just using ChatGPT, but it makes me feel better. It makes me think that I'm being innovative.
idea.
Um,
That's a great idea.
it's really interesting to see. If you have a client and you want to see if your content changes because of that, I would definitely check it out. One thing I did want to ask you about is the ability for marketing to be personal and authentic at a time when so much content is automated. We've all leaned into the idea that our marketing needs to be empathetic, and the more personal we are, the more effective it will be, especially in a multitasking world in which people feel they need to drive connections. What's the balancing act for you when you're doing work for your clients and making sure that their marketing is empathetic and it does drive personal connections versus the ability to just basically generate content at scale that's not personalized and is very generic?
I always go back to what I say if you're having a conversation with someone, are these words that you would use? It doesn't have to be, but for example, one of the things that I pulled up just using the AI generator earlier, it started out by saying it might be difficult to set your gym or studio apart from competitors in a saturated fitness industry. I don't think people talk like that. I read that and I thought, how would I change that? I would say it's a jungle out there. It's competitive. Like, how would you say that to somebody who you're working with? So that's probably the number one thing I use because what ChatGPT lacks is personality. And it loves run on sentences. 3 different points they make in every sentence. And it's like, all right. But I use that. Is this what people are saying? Is this in the language that my clients' customers, not even my client, but what their audience would use? You only know that by talking to them. Is this something they'd say? Is this something, the word they'd use? And then it comes back to if you were to meet somebody at a social outing, would you say this to them? And I think that's how you get the best copy.
I got a newsletter from somebody recently. At the top of the newsletter was a little disclaimer that said, this content was human powered. I wrote it myself. I didn't use ChatGPT. And it got me thinking that maybe there's a brand strategy for some companies to be very open and clear about the fact that their content is written by humans, not robots.
Mhm.
We're very skeptical. Like a lot of people are skeptical about content these days because They think it's being written by ChatGPT, and many companies are doing it, and you can see that they're doing it. But what's your take on a company that openly declares that all their content is written by humans, or will be very specific about the fact that this ebook was written by a human? Do you think that's a way for a company to stand out from the crowd and gain a competitive advantage? Or do you think that it maybe puts all their content into question, that people will say, was this written by a human? Was this written by ChatGPT? What's your take on that?
I almost think it's you're trying too hard at that point. My first thought was people are looking for good content. They're looking for value. What is it that is in that copy? And is it something they can really use? Because I find like a lot of chat GPT information is just what you hear everywhere. That's a great question. If I receive something like that, this is human written, I think my first thought would be, why wouldn't it be? Like, I don't assume
Mm-hmm.
things are
Yeah.
always going to be chat, but you can tell websites I expect it to be because that's all I see anymore. But if you're sending me an email and that email is written by ChatGPT or a DM and LinkedIn, which are all, it looks like they're all written by chat, even
Yep.
responses.
Comments. Yeah.
I guess I feel like if you don't, it's somebody saying, let me be honest with you. You're not being honest with me. This is actually human written. Why wouldn't it be? So I don't know. To me, it would almost work against you. I'd have to see an actual email sent like that because I think I did see something when you said that. It's I got something recently about that, but I don't know. Should we have to say that? I guess is my big question.
Maybe it's a short-term play. Maybe the fact that everybody's skeptical about ChatGPT is, it's a bit of a cute tool, a cute way to stand out from the crowd. But it's a very interesting branding issue. What advice do you have for marketers who are hesitant about adopting AI? There's a lot of people like you and I that jump into it. There's people that are aggressively embracing it. And there's lots of people who just aren't sure about AI, especially about using AI to create content. What advice would you give them if they said to you, Linda, I'd like to use AI, but I'm afraid of losing my authenticity, or I'm afraid of
Mm.
plagiarism, or I'm afraid of being revealed as having written content that uses ChatGPT?
I would say to use it as you would use Google because now even when you get on Google, I think AI kicks in like automatically now. But don't use it to write. Then you avoid that whole problem. Use it to brainstorm. You need some ideas. To me, it saves so much time with coming up with ideas. You have a blog. If you have a blog or you have an email that you have to send out or something that you need to create and you have that writer's block, you're just stuck. That's when it's great to use chat. Can I list 12 ideas?
Apparently, it works if you're polite to it.
It was a little bit creepy when I asked it a question earlier today and it had my name in it because I always say thank you. And I'm like, I did not put my name in this. Like, all
Oh,
right,
that's
it's already
weird.
starting. But I would say use it for idea generation, use it for organizing your work. I've asked it even to organize my day. I have to do this and this. Can you help me prioritize? It doesn't just have to be content, but I think that's a way to get into it a little bit. And don't rely on it for content. Rely on it for ideas, for brainstorming, for titles, for subject lines. It's a matter of just working with it. Apparently, get to know your name. Yeah.
The other piece of advice I think I would give marketers is that it's a great way of summarizing conversations and
Yes.
meetings. You can be on a Zoom call and you can use something like Fathom to record the call and get the transcript. And then you can ask ChatGPT to highlight the most interesting ideas or the key topics or the priorities that were raised during the conversation. It's an amazing way of synthesizing information and then allowing you to make strategic and tactical decisions. Final question. This is a hard one. This is asking you, looking ahead, are there any AI trends or tools that you're excited about? Where do you think AI is going to next impact the marketing landscape? When you look into your crystal ball, is there parts of marketing that you think are ripe for disruption, or any trends that you see that you're excited about or terrified about?
The thing that pops out the most to me is personalization. just really getting to know your audience, like, especially like I work with mainly health and fitness people, and there's new software that tracks with the person's permission, the member's permission, that
Hmm.
tracks them as they go through the gym and see if they have a particular challenge. And then they have the option of having somebody call them or help them with that exercise. I think that is really exciting. So even just personalizing, getting to know your customers even more, you have to talk to them, but in addition to that, just the research that you can do to get a head start on all of it, I think is really what's exciting. And then narrowing down your niche based on that. Where is it that you see be most beneficial to them and also lucrative to your business? I think that's probably the most exciting thing. Gamification
Hmm.
for this is like for gyms and stuff, like
Yeah.
creating games out of fitness. But I think it's probably just the personalization is going to
Cool.
be huge.
Final question. Where can people learn about you and what you do?
I'm on LinkedIn almost every day, and you can find me there. I have some freebies on my website as well. It's thecopyworks, worx.com. I also have a newsletter that goes out every Thursday.
Thanks, Linda, and thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Spark. If you enjoyed the conversation, rate it, subscribe via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app, and of course, share it via social media. If you're a B2B or SaaS company with sales of $1 million to $10 million and you're looking for strategic and tactical help, we should talk about how I can help you do marketing that drives outcomes, whether that's leads, sales, brand awareness, or simply completing key projects. Reach out via email, mark@markevans.ca, connect with me on LinkedIn, or visit marketingspark.co. I'll talk to you next time.